What's up everyone, we are back with picks on every single NBA game for Friday, March 8th. Get excited, we're running both NBA and NCAA basketball picks for today, so once you finish this video and drop a like, comment your best NBA play for today, and click over to our other video and tell us what you think of this NCAA slate as we inch closer to March Madness. These picks, as always, are brought to you by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to see our best bets across all major sports. Subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our daily videos, and hit that thumbs up button so we can continue to grow the community here. Ask me anything you want about any game today. I read and respond to every comment, and I'll give you the best advice I've got on anything you want to ask. Now let's dive into our first game of the day, the Hornets at the Wizards. Charlotte comes into this game fresh off a 5th straight loss. They got kind of destroyed at home by the Orlando Magic. Not a bad loss for this team. They're not anywhere near the level of teams like Orlando, so that's kind of what you expect in this one. Charlotte was only 12 and 19 against the spread on the road. Against the Magic, they didn't really have any answers for Banchero. They didn't really have very many answers for the Orlando bench. We have been seeing Brandon Miller play pretty well, so that's a very encouraging sign for the future of the Hornets. We don't know really what the combination of him and LaMelo Ball is going to look like, but there could be reason for optimism down the road. In terms of injuries right now, Charlotte doesn't have too much going on. Trey Mann is listed as day-to-day with a right groin strain, but I don't think that's a major concern. In the season series against the Wizards, we've seen the Hornets win 2 of those games, but with all those games having happened in November, they're not really recent enough to give us any insight into this one. The Hornets don't really have much going for them. Washington also doesn't really have much going for them. This is one of the worst games on the slate, and obviously this is one of the worst matchups you can possibly have in the NBA right now. Washington comes into this game fresh off of another loss. I'm not even going to look back at how many in a row that is at this point. It is a lot. The Wizards also just lost to the Magic, but they've been losing to everybody. Washington is only 9 and 20 against the spread at home, which is a league worst mark. We also see Washington a little bit banged up right now. Shamet is questionable with a sore left calf. Marvin Bagley III is out with a back issue. He's been out for a while, so that's not really improving anytime soon, it doesn't seem like. And it's not like they're exactly hustling players back as they continue to tank out this season. Guys, I'm not really going to be wanting to bet this game. They're two absolutely terrible teams. If you're forcing me to take a side, though, we see Washington is -3.5. They're so bad at home. I don't really know which way to go. I guess we take Washington, though, since they've got a little bit more talent, but they don't really seem to care about winning. So if you're betting this game, you're a real sicko. I'm not going to be on it myself. Next up, we're looking at the New Orleans Pelicans heading to Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. New Orleans comes into this game fresh off a win. They've won 2 in a row and 4 of 5. They split that series with the Pacers. They beat the very short-handed Knicks, and their last time out, they absolutely demolished the Toronto Raptors. The Pelicans come into this game sitting in 5th place in the West right now. They're a game up on the Suns, so New Orleans being in the 5th seed is pretty good. As long as they can dodge that play-in tournament, they should be pretty happy campers. They're also fully healthy right now, which has not been the case for the majority of this season. The Pelicans have dealt with a ton of injuries, but with Zion not even being listed as probable or anything to do with his foot soreness, that's a really good sign for them. New Orleans is 17 and 13 and 1 against the spread on the road. Not a bad mark at all. Philadelphia comes into this game. They are having a bad time. They've lost 2 in a row. They're super banged up. Maxi's out now, so that's a huge deal for them to go along with Embiid. So their best 2 players are out. Do we really think Tobias Harris is going to be carrying the squad to wins? I don't really think that's something we're going to bank on. I really like New Orleans -4.5 in this one. This could be one of my better plays of the day. I'm going to definitely be on this game unless there's some super weird news. New Orleans isn't dominant on the road, but I think they're plenty good enough that we can take them to get a comfortable win in this one. Next up, we're looking at Minnesota at Cleveland. Minnesota comes into this game fresh off of a win last night at Indiana, so they're playing really great. They had to travel, but so far the absence of Karl Anthony Towns has not really derailed things. There was a long time where everybody was talking about they needed to get rid of one of Towns or Gobert. That hasn't really looked to be the case this season, but who knows? They're going to get a chance now to see what things would be like if he was gone. He could possibly be out for the season with that meniscus issue. Everybody's acting like it's all doom and gloom, and maybe it will be in the long term, but so far things haven't looked too bad. We saw Anthony Edwards go absolutely nuts in this game. He scored 44 points. He played 39 minutes, so he's definitely going to be a little bit fatigued in this one. Minnesota is 16 and 15 against the spread on the road, and they are 4 and 5 against the spread on no rest, so that's a little bit of a concern, but they're going against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are super banged up right now. They've lost 2 of their last 3 with the win coming against Boston, but now they're back to being super short-handed. Donovan Mitchell's out, Max Strus is out, Evan Mobley is out. With all those players missing, they're only 14-16-1 against the spread at home also, so they're not exactly a dominant home team this year. Minnesota is currently listed as +1. That was the opening spread. I think you should go ahead and jump on this as soon as you can. I wouldn't go massive on it until we find out for sure whether or not anybody's sitting out for Minnesota on the second half of back-to-back here, but I really like the Timberwolves in this spot against the Cleveland team that is so depleted. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic heading to New York to take on the Knicks. Orlando comes into this game riding a 5-game winning streak. They just took down the Washington Wizards. That was kind of a weird game. Orlando looked like they were maybe looking ahead of the Wizards. They weren't really locked in for this game, but they came back and got the job done to win by 10. Franz Wagner is a monster. Paolo Banchero played great. This young squad is really coming together here at the right point in the season. Orlando is 21-13 against the spread on the road. Their only injury currently listed is Wendell Carter Jr. He's questionable with his knee issue, but whether or not he plays, I don't think that's actually a massive deal. That's not going to sway my pick in this game. The Knicks come into this one fresh off a loss to the Atlanta Hawks. Things have gotten pretty dark with all the injuries in New York. It's almost like their coach plays all of their players way too many minutes all the time, and their bodies start to break down here at the end of the season. Tibbs has to pay the price for that at some point in every season, it feels like, and that has been no different in this one. The Knicks have Brunson listed as questionable. It seems like he might play with his knee issue. He went through most of practice. OG is still out with his elbow injury, but the real person we're going to look at here is Brunson. If he plays, that makes a big difference for the Knicks. But honestly, they're getting a little bit shorthanded just in general. How good is he going to be in his first game back on that knee? Is he really going to trust it? That was a super awkward little jump, non-contact, whatever went on with his knee. I've seen all kinds of stuff about maybe it being a nerve issue and all kinds of different problems it could be. If he's going to be out for any significant time, that's going to doom the Knicks season. So I'm actually pretty shocked they're bringing him back this quick. The Knicks are still a game up on the Heat and the 76ers to avoid the play-in tournament. So I think they should have probably waited on this and given him some more time. But regardless, our pick in this game is going to be the Orlando Magic -1.5. Even though they're playing on the road, Orlando does not seem to be bothered by that. They're healthy right now. They're 21-13 against the spread on the road. Give me Orlando in this one. Next up, we've got Atlanta at Memphis. The Atlanta Hawks have actually won 2 in a row coming into this one. Kind of crazy. More fuel being thrown on the fire of that whole maybe get rid of Trae Young and keep Dejounte Murray. The Hawks seem like they're pretty much locked into the 10 spot in the East. Sure, they could maybe move down, but I don't think they're very likely to move up. And they would really have to collapse to get caught by someone like the Brooklyn Nets or the Toronto Raptors. While that's not going to be really worth much, I expect them to probably lose in the play-in tournament. There's very little chance they're going to be making it out of there unless Embiid doesn't come back and some other stuff happens. But regardless, they've been playing a little bit better lately now that Trae Young is out. They're going to be without Jalen Johnson and Kobe Buffkin in this one, but I don't think either one of those absences make a huge difference in this game where they're going against the Grizzlies, who come into the game winners of 2 straight also. Pretty shocking to see them with 2 wins in a row, but when your wins are over Brooklyn and Philadelphia, we're not exactly going to throw you a ticker tape parade. This team is a little bit banged up right now. Kennard is doubtful with his knee issue. Gigi Jackson, whose absence could be a big deal, is questionable with a knee issue, so they could be a little bit shorthanded. The Grizzlies are only 12-19 against the spread at home. I feel like this is a little bit of a letdown spot coming off of back-to-back wins. Is this team really going to go on some sort of run here? I don't really know. I'm not going to be betting this game with these 2 terrible teams. I don't trust either one. If you make me bet this, though, we're going to go with Atlanta -1.5 on the road. I know they've been terrible on the road, but the Grizzlies are not much better at home. So my small lean on these 2 terrible teams in this very crappy matchup is going to be Atlanta. Next, we're going to look at Miami at Oklahoma City. Miami comes into this game fresh off a tough loss last night against the Dallas Mavericks. Miami played relatively well. They couldn't get the job done down the stretch. We saw Luka make some pretty ridiculous step backs and some really crazy double-teamed threes at the buzzer, turning grenades into points at the last second on the shot clock. Pretty crazy performance by him. Jimmy Butler did play well. It seems very clear that the Heat really need Tyler Hero to come back. Terry Rozier is having to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to shooting the ball from deep or just creation off the dribble in general. Jimmy Butler can do some of that, but he's not able to do it from 3, or he isn't really during the regular season, it seems like. So they need Tyler Hero to come back in a big way. The Heat are 18-12-1 against the spread playing on the road. That's a pretty good number, but not as good as their opponent in this one. Oklahoma City comes in this game fresh off of a shockingly close win over the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't think the Thunder are really taking that game seriously. OKC is 21-9 against the spread at home, which is a near league best. They also have a clear bill of health in this one. Nobody is listed on the injury report at all for Oklahoma City. And the Thunder need this win to keep pace with the Timberwolves for the top spot in the West. You have to think this young squad really wants to win the conference here, so I think they're going to be very motivated. I'm going to take Oklahoma City -8 in this one. It seems like a lot. The Heat are not great on no rest. They're 4-1 against the spread on no rest, so they're not terrible, but they're not great. I'm going to take Oklahoma City in this one. I feel very good about this game. The Heat are going to be tired. That was a high-effort game. I'm a little bit worried about Chet Holmgren's ability to deal with Bam, but other than that, I think this is a matchup nightmare for the Heat. Moving along to the Houston Rockets, heading to the Portland Trail Blazers. We got another 2 not very good teams in this one. Houston, against the spread on the road, is a near league worst. They don't really have any meaningful injuries. Jeff Green is listed as questionable. but he's 1,000 years old and isn't getting much playing time right now. Anyway, the Rockets have won 2 of their last 3. They lost in a pretty competitive game to the Clippers last night. The problem with this one is that Houston is on the road. They've been so much worse on the road than they've been at home. Alperen Sengun has been playing great. Fred VanVleet being back helps his team a lot. There's a case to be made if he hadn't missed so much time with injury this season, they could be competing for at least a play-in spot, but that's not really what's going on at this point. The Blazers come to this game fresh off of 2 straight losses. They did win a home-and-home series against the Memphis Grizzlies, so at least they're trying a little bit, but Portland is only 12-18 against the spread at home. We're seeing Scoot Henderson out. Jeremy Grant is very questionable with his hamstring issue. Brogdon is trying to ramp up his activity, but his elbow is still giving him a lot of trouble. This squad is just banged up and down the roster. We see Portland being very shorthanded in this one. They're getting 7.5 points, which I think is a little bit enticing, but I think this might just be bait. Give me Houston minus 7.5 in this one, playing on the road. Just a small lean though. I would just sprinkle this one. This is not going to be one of my bigger bets. Last but not least, we got the Milwaukee Bucks heading to LA to take on the Lakers. Milwaukee comes into this game fresh off a blowout loss at the Golden State Warriors. It was a pretty depressing performance by the Bucks. They just did not look good at all in that game. We saw Giannis play, which is a little bit surprising. You would definitely think they'd want to be more cautious with him, but I guess they decided not to, or Giannis decided not to. Milwaukee is 13-18 against the spread on the road. Middleton is still going to be out for this game. Giannis is probable with his left Achilles issue, but man, I don't know why they're really messing with this. I would think you'd want to shut him down for a little bit. Maybe they're just super worried about seeding in the East, but right now we see the Bucks are pretty much locked into one of the top 3 seeds, so I don't know why they're in such a hurry with this one. We're not seeing even performances from Damian Lillard this season. Like one game he'll go absolutely nuts, and the next game he'll be kind of a no-show. So the Bucks really aren't a team that we can feel super confident in on a nightly basis. The Lakers come into this game fresh off some very scary news. We saw LeBron not finish that game at the Kings. He left a little bit early with an ankle injury. Apparently it's this lingering ankle issue that he's questionable for every night. Getting into the Lakers injury problems, AD is listed as questionable with his Achilles issue, but he should certainly play. He's always listed as questionable, and he pretty much has always been playing this season, so I guess that's a little bit comforting for the Lakers. But if this LeBron thing is anything more than just him feeling like this game was over or something, I don't really know, then we have to be very concerned, because the Lakers are not going to do anything positive without LeBron in there. It's really going to be a question in this game of which team shows up with more healthy players. If Giannis and LeBron both play, I think we slightly like the Bucks, and I think either way we like the Bucks in this one. I don't think there's anyone out there for the Lakers that's really capable of guarding Dame. Sure, Anthony Davis should be able to cause some problems for Giannis at the rim, but other than that, I don't think this is a great matchup for the Lakers. Give me the Bucks on the road, plus 1.5 in this one, but keep a very close eye on that injury report on this game leading up to game time. That's all of our NBA games for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below about anything on these NBA games, and check out our NCAA basketball video for our picks over there. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. We'll see you guys tomorrow for more NBA and college basketball action.